call to order the Board of Trustees regular meeting Tuesday, February 20th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Burkholder?
Here.
Ms. McKee?
Here. Ms. McKee, would you like to send the
Please
invocation,
stand with me,
please?
please.
Thank you.
And if you could please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for your divine intervention in our community. May your peace reign in the midst of bringing an end to the conflict and discord that threatened and divided this township. I earnestly pray that you would soften the hardened hearts and grant us the wisdom and resolve our differences peacefully. Lord, guide our leaders and empower us to promote unity, understanding among all members of our community. I beseech you in the name of Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
The only thing I would ask is that the health insurance F be moved at the start of old business, just because we have individuals here and just to be conscious of their time.
We will do that, and I don't think that
Do you
needs
wanna
an
make a mo-
amendment. No,
Okay.
I think that's fine. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
motion passes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the trustee meetings January 2nd, 2024, organizational, and the regular meeting of January 8th, 2024, special meetings?
So
I'll make a
moved.
motion.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion? Any corrections or additions?
No, sir.
Let me just say, under discussion, I've been working with the township secretary to catch up on the other minutes. We've had some long meetings there, plus we also have the BZA meeting, so she's been working on those to try to get those prepared so we can address those, the ones that pertain to the trustee meetings at the next meeting. Roll call, please.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
They are approved. Now comes the public comments, limit of 3 minutes. Please come to the podium and state your name and address. Is there anyone that would like to address the board at this time? Anyone?
I'll go for it. Chuck Bundy, 10254 Tollgate Road. I know you guys have a ton of stuff on your plate, and I just want to ask you to consider making the township a home rule township. I think there's a lot to be gained as a home rule township, and I know that you have an awful lot going on, but just be thinking about that. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at this time? If not, we'll move to report. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Connie.
Connie Hine, I live at 10293 Smoke Road. I have two things. The first, over a year ago, I brought it before the board about, we're getting ready to farm our farm, and they were supposed to fix the culverts, and nothing's been done. The water goes under the culverts and backs into all our fields, so we lose quite a bit from that, and they said they was gonna fix it, nothing's been done.
Was that the township was gonna?
That's a Smoke Road.
Right, yeah, but the township was gonna,
I brought it for this township, and they said they was gonna do something about with water, and bringing the water and whatever in there.
soil and water.
Soil and water.
That's one where the, excuse me,
Go ahead.
where there was a difference with the
Yeah.
pipe coming in, going under the road,
Right,
that location.
The culverts aren't doing anything
Okay.
there. And the other thing is, I suppose you all got this in the mail about the, what's going on in our community. I would like for everybody to go to this meeting on February 27th at Licking Heights Middle School Auditorium. And it's all about I know we've been approached by Chinese to buy our farm, and I know it's happening around here. There's already one in progress over on the Red Highway, and we're talking about how we can keep our community safe. I think it's very important for the trustees in our body to go to this meeting, just hear what they said. Go with discernment and go with wisdom, because it affects our future.
Ms. Connie, I do have a question before, in regards to your first question about your culvert. Did Mr. Bubba ever approach you or come out there? Did our group team of road crew ever work with you at all? Okay.
Not with over a year.
Okay, I thought they did, but I'm
No,
mistaken, I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
Just for clarification, did you have somebody else farming that field, or
Yeah,
because
my cousin farms it, yes.
because I know Bubba had met with him on site.
Yeah, and nothing's been done. That's what I'm hearing.
Okay,
Nothing has been done.
we'll
So
definitely
I just-
look into it and we'll get you an
I
update.
appreciate that, because, hey, that's our money, we're losing a lot. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. We'll now go to reports. Road Department, we've had quite a few meetings and a lot going on with our roads. I met with TID regarding Pike Street, and I'll just give you a quick summary. We met with the developer as well at High Point on that, and there's about 585 feet is our section of the gap, and there's over 300 feet even beyond that in order to get into the entrance to the High Point development off of Pike Street. So that's one of the things came up, and the other thing is how we're going to pay for that as well, and the other item is the aesthetics. So I'm not asking for any action tonight, but I am proposing or would advocate that I think we need to have, consider the aesthetics on that section of Pike Street. It's 2.6 million in federal funding. We still don't know yet, since we're not at the construction phase, how much it's going to cost Etna Township. Normally that's an 80-20 split, with us being responsible for 20%. We've put that 80,000 plus to do the engineering for our portion up the gap, and now we got the rest of the gap as well. And we have a little bit of time on that, but since we're talking about revitalizing that area, and we're talking about economic development in that area as well, I think it's important that we get it right. And that's why I think aesthetics count. And so I'll probably bring some information to my colleagues, and I'd like to have that on the agenda for the next meeting. The other item has to do with Refugee Road. We've had complaints, including myself, about the roundabout and the lack of aesthetics, and this would be the one at Mink and Refugee, and how we think that needs to be improved. I did have a meeting with Bill Lozier, who's with the TID, and also officials from Pataskla. They are responsible for maintaining that, so they don't want it to be too much over the top. But I think it needs to be improved so that it's aesthetically pleasing. So Mr. Lozier with the TID is currently getting some pricing on that. I don't think it'll be part of the project. It may be an extra, but that's forthcoming, and I'll obviously bring that to the full board, what those additional costs would be. They're also going to start construction on the second portion, and that would be over to the Parkway. And we've talked about how that roundabout could be modified, since it hasn't been constructed yet, to make that more pleasing to the community. So
I wanted to say something on, since you brought that up.
go ahead.
We do not maintain the roundabouts, just to be clear. Pataskla maintains those.
That's correct.
So because of that, we really are kind of at their mercy if we will work with them to put something there besides the stones. The stones are there right now.
Right.
And if we decide to ask them to put grass there, they maintain it. So it's up to their side to decide, do we want to cut grass? Do we want to put an additional responsibility on ourselves? That's what Pataskla says. Now, as far as us making changes in the midstream of a project, its cost is outrageous. So what you can do is later on add on, not doing the project, but just do something later. Hire an engineering firm in the later on after the project's complete and go back and fix it. So that is something we can discuss, because if not, it's gonna cost us lots of money.
Can I just say something quickly?
Sure.
I would say on the roundabout for refugee and the parkway, now's the time we should address that. It's much cheaper to do it now with possibly change order in that, wrap the costs into the bond costs. These are the things that should have been addressed at the beginning of the project, but as far as being a partner with Patasko, that's true. We both have to agree on these things. And so I think, you know, we should continue to work on that, but I do agree that aesthetics is also important.
Yeah, and so what we probably could do is ask for the cost now, and then ask for the cost after, if we hire a firm afterwards. So we could do that and bring that to the board. I think that would be fair. So our residents will be aware of what we're paying to have this done, if we do move forward with it.
Yeah, that was
So
part,
that's fair.
that was part of the discussion of what are our options and
Yes.
what's the cost difference,
Okay.
differentials out there. As far as the zoning report, the BZA is going to have their adjudicatory meeting. They've already had the hearing as it relates to the toll gate conditional use, and that's coming up on February 26th. Do you recall, is that 6 o'clock?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock? Didn't want to get that wrong and have people miss it, so 5 o'clock. We also have some information as it relates, and I copied both of you trustees, as it relates to whether the Southwest Licking Water and Sewer District is subject to township zoning. You should have a copy of that opinion. And I really don't have much more to report at this time, other than I think that if they are exempt according to that recent opinion, that we should still require the fees. And I also would like the board to entertain at least having an independent review by an engineering firm that would not cost that much to ensure that they in fact are in compliance with our zoning, simply because the correspondence we've had from Southwest Licking has been positive, and they've indicated that they believe they are within the spirit of our zoning code. But I think when you're talking about an $85 million sewer plant, it's important that we make certain things like setbacks and some of those other items are in line. So I'll probably be bringing that to the next meeting as well. And do my other trustees have any comments about zoning or anything you'd like to?
No, the only thing on zoning, I'm still waiting to hear back from the prosecutor, is regarding the applications as public records. The applications for the last two BZA hearings were withheld until after the public hearing was closed. Every other entity and everything I've seen, they are public records and should have been provided. So I'm just waiting back from the prosecutor on that for verification.
From my understanding, after reading the Ohio Revised Code, from what I understand, it looks like the water and sewer is a public utility, and from that, they are, according to the Ohio Revised Code, they're exempt from zoning.
Well, there's been varying opinions on that, and I've talked to Jim Roberts, who is the executive director of the Southwest Licking Water and Sewer District, and I indicated we certainly want to work with and coordinate with you, but we obviously, unfortunately, here in Etna Township have experienced quite a few problems with the zoning not being right or not being enforced, or the setbacks not being correct on some of these other major developments, and as such, I think we need to make certain, at least that in the spirit, even if they're not required or are exempt from our zoning, I think we still need to double check, because I think we have a good enough working relationship. If there was something out of compliance, that we could hopefully correct that. Too many mistakes have been made in the past, and then the taxpayer is left trying to fix some of those problems. So, and that's why, I don't know if anyone remembers, that's why at the previous meeting, because we had varying opinions on whether it would apply or not apply, we went out and got that third-party opinion, which I thought was prudent to do. As far as Parks and Rec, I did have an occasion to talk with the Licking County Park District, and you know, we've had that situation over at Russell Heights. The T.J. Evans Foundation, I believe, owns some park ground, And I was wondering, since we can apply for a $15,000 a year, that's our allocation, we can get a grant from the district. How do the trustees feel about using that $15,000 to extend the roadway to get back into that? Because currently they don't have a roadway to get back into that, even though it's a passive park. I mean, there's no activity there. I think it's mostly natural, isn't it, Mr. Evans?
It is. It's an area that was a wetlands offset from another site, and they used that for the wetlands mitigation. But the prior board did take this up, and I believe at that time they were going to extend the road themselves, I think, in gravel. And that was the determination at that time. I forget the individual's name, but the one heading the department came in and discussed that. I just don't think that, as with the discussion at the time, everybody's property stops short, their driveway stops short of the street, the property line, and we're not extending that apron for everybody else just because it's at the end. They want that. I would think that the stone, because I believe they were going to use stone on the interior, why they couldn't do that, and I think they had the permission to move forward on that.
Wait a minute, are you talking about the one over here off of Mink?
Freeway Drive.
Freeway Drive, yeah. Okay. I know they wanted to take that piece of property, but it will be cutting into some of the homeowners' property. Yeah, it will. We went over and measured, Bubba and myself, John and Nita. We measured and we had the conversation with some of the neighbors there. My concern is it would take away millage from us, and that will put us in a situation where that'd be less for us. I just, the ladies that we spoke with, the way her house is situated, when cars are going back there on a regular basis, the lights will be shining into their property. We don't want it to be a place where young people can pull in that area and, things happen back there. So there was some things that we discussed. I don't think that we should give that property over to them like that. And if we did that, that's a loss for the township. So, and then he talked about the $15,000 per year. Is that for the parks? So there is a grant out there that we can get.
Yes.
And that grant, it could be used towards our own park.
Yes.
And they are doing it yearly. So if we decided, because it's almost like I feel like they're going to give us this money for this park, but you're giving the money back to them because you're giving them land, part of a road that's not there. So they want to extend that property back there, which is some of the residents' backyard. I don't think we should. And I think if I took a road trip over there to see it for myself, and I think Mr. Burkholder, you may want to do the same if you hadn't, just so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like.
I've been over there before, not recently, but since you're over parks, would you go ahead and bring that application for that $15,000? Because it's my understanding that can accumulate. Could you go ahead and get a hold of I believe it's Mr. Lund over there, Kyle Lund?
Kyle, yes, I know Kyle very well.
Could you bring that back to the next meeting and have that we'll have that on the agenda so that we can go ahead and make application for those funds. I don't think we have to specify the use at this time, but I think that's $15,000 that we could certainly use.
Yeah, but you have to
for our
specify what you need that for.
Well, I think there's
So
some.
you're saying already that you're willing to spend the money over there before we voted on
Well,
that?
yeah, I walked the park today, and there's definitely a lot of things I think we can do to improve High Point Park.
Well, High Point or over on Freeway Drive? Which one is it, Mr. Burkholder? I'm sorry.
Well, High Point, if you're not supportive of the one over there on Freeway Drive, then I think this is,
Okay.
I think that this park it's getting used more and more, and I think it needs some enhancements.
Okay, that sounds fair enough.
Anything else?
I was trying to pull this up on the computer right now, but there would be no loss of property. There's property lines already in effect, and there's right-of-ways. They use that. It's not open to the public. It's not a park that TJ Evans Wetlands. It's just for research and that. However, they're just wanting a little bit better access for when it's muddy and that. I'm trying to pull it up here. Oh, here we go. But if you look on the auditor site right here, Mr. President, this is what, you see the road coming in, the road ends there,
Right.
but the road is actually, they might consider that part of their land just because it's been grass for a long time and they've been going in that way, but there's no taking of anyone's land because this is their land. It's not there. So they're using it, they've access, they just want to improve their access, but at the last meeting, we could get the minutes, they were, had to go ahead to make it gravel if they wanted to, or what?
I think let's revisit it and try to work
Yeah,
with
we
them
can
to
try
get
to
a
get some
solution.
minutes from before, the outcome from before. It sounds like we're starting all over with Kyle. We have a new trustee, but what we had said before, the previous board, after talking to the residents, that we were not interested in giving that piece over to them.
I attended that meeting.
Okay.
meeting. Mr. Evans, West Licking Fire District, please.
Yes, our meeting was February 8th, and I forwarded the meeting packet to everybody. We did go over the I-70 bus crash report. It has not been released publicly, but will be so in the near future. I just want to say that the men and women of our district, along with other jurisdictions, did an incredible job there, and it's outlined in their report. Just from our district alone, 33 personnel were there, and they triaged 62 people. And I can't get into the responses and that, but they were ready to provide even more support. And that incredible response was due to a high level of training. With that, the 2-story burn building house over on York and 40 is being modified to add a 3rd story to give additional training to improve that. And one thing our chief mentioned was regarding cardiac events in our township. Typically, there's an 18% survival rate that's walking out of the hospital. Our district is 51%, and that's because of the incredible training that they do. So I really commend them for doing that, and they're really serving our community well there. The new fire station 404 on Taylor Road is operational. We expect to have a public open house probably in June. I'll announce that when we get closer. The work on fire station 403 on Columbia and Refugee is continuing. Again, we're expecting a May opening there. And some have asked about what's going to happen with the Mink Road station. It's medics, and they're going to transfer over to the 403 on Columbia. We did receive a request for assistance to help them clean out the burn house. They requested the use of a tractor and one of our road crew members to allow them to dump into it, and then we dump into a dumpster. After checking with the prosecutor, she advised against it due to several limitations on townships. So while I think it would have been great to help them, we have to stay within our operational bounds. And then I've been added to the insurance committee on the district. We're working through some items there. We have a special meeting tomorrow at 6 p.m. Again, we moved our meetings from 7 to 6. And this past Saturday, we had a district awards banquet. It's the first time in, I believe, 15 years that they brought it back. It was at the Wigwam Center in Violet Township. It was a wonderful event celebrating all our employees. So that's all I got.
Very good, thank you. We'll go to old business now, and we've moved item F, health insurance renewal, up to the top spot since we have some presenters here. I'll now turn it over to Mr. Evans, who's been working on this.
Yes, just to remind the board, we've got a health insurance renewal for Anthem May 1st. And I have been in contact with, we have Frank Harmon here with Ohio Insurance Services, who is our current broker, but I have been in contact with and working with Brian Savage with Waypoint. And I think now if we're going to make a change would be the time to do that. So I think I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Savage to kind of go over kind of what his thoughts are, and then I can entertain any kind of motions. And of course, if Mr. Harmon wants to speak, we can allow him to speak also.
Okay. You
Mr.
have the floor, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Ross and Chief, good to meet you, sir. Thank you, too.
Thank you, sir. You're very welcome. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
My name is Brian Savage, and my home address is 7661 Serenity Drive in Dublin, Ohio. Thank you very much for having me out. Thank you guys for having me out today. You know, when I sit and think about it in the township, the last time I was here was a while ago, and you guys have had so many changes. I see you in the news, and it's exciting, right? It's exciting to see what's happening, not just in central Ohio, but in the township. Having the opportunity to work with Mark Evans through the fire board, through the fire district, has been a great experience. I don't know how much you guys know about his involvement over there, but he's absolutely been a leader and stalwart in making good decisions for the district. I can't say enough about the relationship we've built in a fairly short period of time. So I had the opportunity to come out and introduce myself to Etna Township this evening. I've learned a little bit about what you guys are doing with benefits currently. I see your township differently than the statistics. So like if you look at the statistics of Etna Township, I don't know if you have 8 or 10 people on your plan with Anthem right now. However, the impact of the decisions you're making right now, not just for Etna Township, but for Central Ohio, are extremely significant. And I would like to be part of that. I'd like to be part of having a relationship with Etna Township and be able to talk, around the state or with other business opportunities that I have about, this relationship with this really cool township that has a lot going on. So to talk about the opportunity with Waypoint and with Etna, it's reasonably simple for me, but I'd like to walk through this. Obviously, I'm with Waypoint Benefit Solutions. I've met everyone, so I know the leaders. We're following the agenda that I have set out. I think the difference that you're going to see in working with us is going to be our focus. We talk about Waypoint Benefit Solutions, building tools to solve problems in the employee benefit space. The tools that we have that I think would be most impactful for you are really going to be our 3 experience models. So plan participant experience. So in my world, I talk about plan participants. These are your employees. These are the people that are enrolled in your plan. So they're the employees, the spouses, and the dependents that are enrolled. Putting together a model that their experience is upgraded from the traditional, what I would say broker model, I think will be a big time improvement. And I'm happy to spend as much time as you'd like in this meeting with questions, or after the fact. I would be willing to talk to anyone about that. But it really doesn't stop there. You need to also talk about plan impacted executives. So with townships of your size, trustees certainly being involved in the decision-making process, fiscal officer. I don't know the structure that you have currently set up for your HR, your level of sophistication with your HR department. However, as your township continues to grow, having key access to HR tools that might be a little further ahead than what you're using right now is something that I would be excited to introduce to the group. And that would be part of your plan participant experience and also your plan impacted executive experience. The last would be the plan sponsor as the group that's putting everyone together. Obviously making sure you're getting the best rates, but I don't know how much you've done to figure out what the feedback is from your current employees and what the feedback will be on an annual basis as the plan needs to evolve. And so I've got a plan for that. For your 2024 Aetna renewal strategy and timeline, the first step for us would be gaining access and being made your broker of record for Form Fire. So Form Fire is a tool that's existing, which you're already using. No reason to fix that, but we do want to use the information that's already in there as we go to market and find the best solutions. One thing I don't believe in just comparing what you have and trying to match that or maybe round it up or beat it a little bit. While we're out there getting quotes for a group of your size, we're going to get all the quotes that are available. So all the different plans that are available with the Aetna's, United Healthcare's, right, the Blue Cross Blue Shield, Medical Mutual, and a few others that I think might be interesting for you to entertain. But at the same time, I want to survey the employees that are benefit eligible. So I want to go to them and ask, what do you like about your plan right now? What would you, I mean, if you had the magic wand, how would you change your plan? It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but we do want to understand what their feedback is when we look for that benefit alignment, right? Instead of, here's what you have today, to keep your costs down, maybe we change it a little bit. Let's figure out, are they getting the benefits they want? We're trying to make you more competitive, right? So when you go for that next hire, or when you go to retain that employee that might have an opportunity at another job, right? How are you going to make your benefits package attractive to the point that they know that they don't want to lose it, right? They want to stay and they want to remain loyal to you guys because of that package. So the first step would be a form fire transfer. That's pretty simple. I know your current agent's here, so it's really easy. It's housed by Ohio Insurance Services right now. We would go ahead and take your tax ID number. We would go ahead and put that into the system. It will show us who's listed as your HR. It might be Julie, I'm guessing, I don't know. Either way, we would ask for that to be transferred. Your current agent would then get a message, and you would get a message. You would confirm that, yes, we do want to transfer that. Your current agent would get that message. It would have the opportunity to expedite that, which is nice. We can get to work right away. You know, that's one of the challenges that you have. You have a May 1st renewal, right?
Yeah.
It seems like it's a long ways out. As I get older, which I'm 43, been doing this actually for a pretty long time now, but things happen so fast, right? May 1st is going to be on us. For you to make great benefit decisions, you want to make those decisions if you can 60 days out. 45 days out gets pretty tight. And you want to have it in place so that you can, if you're making benefit evolutions, if you're making changes, you can work with your group to explain why this is a better solution, why this is going to work, what are the changes. Get those employee meetings out and try to get those out like 30 days ahead of time. So that would be the goal. And we need the form fire to do that. Plan participant communication, as I said, would go out at the same time as form fire so that we can get their feedback. And by the time we're coming back with competitive market quotes and building our benefit aligned proposals, we'll also be able to share with you the feedback we received from your team, from the people that are actually using it, the end users. So we put benefit aligned proposals in front of you. That becomes a discussion process, right? We show you how we can potentially match what you're doing. We show you how we can create some additional benefit alignment and what those costs may be. Maybe there's savings involved. Maybe there's additional costs. But we'll work back and forth until we get a plan that we want to put in place, execute documents, and at that point we want to roll it out. Most likely going to have some additional tools that are going to improve the member experience, potentially have some additional tools to improve the experience on the administration side, and then have the time to have a good, positive transition into the new benefits plan. So this would be my strategy for you. One of the challenges with a timeline like this is being able to move quickly, expeditiously. And so getting access to form fire as soon as tomorrow would be a wonderful thing to do. Being able to get approved employee surveys out as soon as this week so that we can give people, some people might be on vacation or off for whatever reason, give them a couple weeks to do it. And get back and really be in a place to make some good decisions for the township on a timeline that's going to work for your renewal. I think you're a little behind the 8 ball right now, but it's not something that we can overcome, or it's not something that we can't overcome. So a couple pieces that I wanted to talk to you about. We enjoy working with a lot of public entities around the state. However, our focus has primarily been larger groups. We have a great relationship with the Westlake Joint Fire District at this time. One of the things that I wanted to bring up with you guys is with a group of your size, I truly believe to get the best and most competitive rates, the solution isn't having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 competitive brokers working on your case. The challenge is, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with this market size, but the challenge is once you have multiple brokers bidding on your business, those brokers are always going to get the same information unless they're presenting different information to the underwriters, right? well, if we're doing a good job of getting updated information on form fire that's accurate, there should not be different information. So at that point, to negotiate directly with these underwriters or directly with these carriers, it's going to require an opportunity for them to have more of a single decision maker and more of a path forward, so they don't feel like they're bidding against themselves. And so my request of you would be to transfer the form fire to me, make me your agent of record so that I can take you, and our team can take you to market this year, build proposals and work directly with your team and with you to make the best benefit decisions for the township. And so that's my request of you tonight. I do have some more information on what that would look like, but before I go forward, I'd like to open it up to questions.
You mentioned you had a good relationship with the Joint Fire Department over. You guys just started building this relationship. Is that something, or you guys had them from last year, or this is a new one?
Yeah, it's been a wild experience over there. So we earned their business in April of 2023.
Okay.
So we're going on a year.
Awesome.
However, I've had more benefit transitions with that group in less than a year than any group I've ever worked with. It's been wild. However, we've been able to get to the point with that group and talk to Mark about it. I think some of the decisions we've made not only will result in several $100,000 worth of savings to all of the member groups inside of, right, that make up the West Lakeland Joint Fire District, but we've been able to put together a working relationship between the board, the administration, and the union that I don't believe, or at least we're on the path to having that put together, that I don't believe existed prior to us being involved. So the level of pride that I have for that deal and the level of respect that I have for the board members and the administration and the union actually to get this here this quickly, it's pretty cool. I don't know if you know a bunch about what's going on there. It's
Yes.
for an insurance geek like me, it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
So you were saying since April 2023, you've worked with them, and you guys had some issues that you guys tried to work out, and you now since worked them out, since Mr. Evans has been on the board to try to help work through it. Did I understand that correctly?
Oh, I think any group, that goes through 4 transitions inside of a year has some challenges, right? But yeah, it's been a great experience. I would answer anything you'd like to know.
And I think I could touch on that a little bit. There was an issue with the prior broker. They brought Waypoint in after doing their due diligence with several other brokers, came in, and one of the problems, one of the challenges I see is that initially the broker's recommendation was not followed. And from that, there were some issues that were ongoing. We're working through it, and I've got to say, I've been really impressed with Mr. Savage, his detailed responses, the level of detail his office keeps, maintains communication, working with all parties. And after the last month and a half, I think tomorrow we're going to wrap that up, and it wouldn't have been possible without Mr. Savage. So I've reached out to others that use him, Jersey Township, the last, I think, 6-7 years. I've also spoke to other brokers and gotten information on that. I just think that what Waypoint and Mr. Savage can provide is kind of their approach of speaking to the people, getting their input, and not just looking at some of the just the numbers. But the numbers are important. And again, on the district side, where there was a savings of over $300,000, and also another approach is currently we've got an HRA that basically we've got to pay out of pocket or get in advance and get it back. Well, there's plans where even Harrison Township uses it through another broker, but where there's an HRA card. So there's no out-of-pocket expense. I know we've had employees where that was a burden. And even though that you can have an advance, it takes time. And I think we need to ease it and simplify it for all And like I said, I think if we're gonna make a change, now is the time. We've also, I've seen some challenges prior, just with some renewals of, increased benefits. No, not increased, they're not increased benefits. And as elected officials, we can't take increased benefits. So I believe that now is the time, if we're gonna make a change with the renewal, to get a new representation, new broker, and kind of move us forward on the proper path.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
When you do the form fire surveys, are those going to be based on 2023 or 2024 information that you get?
Yeah, so when you complete the form fire, it becomes dated the day it's completed, right?
Yeah.
So they're gonna, I think the look back period when they ask the questions, depending on the question, it could be, in the last 2 years, in the last so many years, but it's dated as of the time that it's completed. So it doesn't go like on a plan year or a calendar year. It just has, the clock kind of gets set once the whole group's completed. And the clock that I'm talking about is at a certain point the information becomes old and the underwriters will need you to complete that again, right? So we won't.
Update it or complete.
We
They
just
could-
haven't done it yet this year yet.
Right, but it can be updated, correct? You don't have to input
Yeah.
all the old stuff.
Right, but if you update them, so it needs to be updated now.
Okay.
But once it's updated, at a certain point, right, say 60 days out, it's no longer considered up to date, and it might need to be updated again. So we want to do it one time. We want to go in quickly. One thing that I'm excited about with our team, we've had experiences with groups of your size. I think we can probably get that done in about a week. Yeah, we will dedicate a single source person in our office, probably Anissa Moreno in this situation, and we'll give great instructions for everyone. However, if anyone has any issue, they'll call her, she'll walk them through it, and our goal will be to get it done in a week. If we have a couple stragglers inside of 2, it will be pretty simple.
And you
Julie, does
mentioned
that
that
answer?
you needed this information by tomorrow?
No, what I'm requesting of you is to be able to transfer the broker of record. So the way that works with form fire is you can't have multiple brokers that have access to that information. So even though we are licensed and we can look at HIPAA information without there being a liability, they're not going to let 2 people in that system at the same time, because you have to be responsible for any changes that are made during the period that you're the broker of record. So right now you have a broker with broker of record. Have those been updated this year for your 20? They haven't.
Form fire now.
No. Okay, so they need to be updated right now. And so I would like to be made your broker of record as quickly as tomorrow. So what we would do is tomorrow morning, we would take your tax ID number and go into FormFire software. It's pretty simple.
Yep.
Find you, and we would go ahead and authorize a transfer. For that transfer to be executed, 2 things have to happen. Whoever's listed as your HR contact would have to say, yes, we do authorize that transfer, and whoever's your current broker of record, which I believe is Mr. Harmon, would have to say, yeah, we'll expedite. If he doesn't do that, I think it just takes like an extra 5 business days, but there's no reason to wait that period of time when you're coming up on a May 1st renewal. We want to get busy, right? So that's how it works.
Yeah, okay. So that's a renewal. Okay.
And once we're done, I'll offer the motions on everything.
I mean, because this is a board decision. I mean, we have to vote to say if we want to do this or not. So just, I
Yeah.
understand you said to get stuff going tomorrow, we would go into the, update some stuff in form fire.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
So a couple of things that I'd like to be brief about, but make sure we're on the same page. I wouldn't encourage this group to make any changes in your benefits until we take the time to make sure those changes align with what your staff is looking for, and to make sure those changes are of the most value to the township. So actual benefit changes aren't on the table right now.
Okay.
What I'm asking for is 2 things, and I want to be clear about this also. I'm not only asking to become your broker of record with FormFire, which gives me the ability to help your group update these accounts and take this to market and gain quotes. I'm also asking to be made your broker of record with Anthem at this time, so that we can navigate with your in-force benefits through the transition. With your, what I call ancillary benefits, or in this case, dental, vision, and life, and potentially others, I would want to get in touch with the companies that you have in force. I believe you may be in some pools right now that may not allow for an agent of record transfer. However, I'd like to introduce myself to those companies as your new agent, new broker of record, and let them know that it would be your intention to stay with them if possible, as long as their plans align with what your employees want and the cost is competitive. And that'll create a scenario, that'll create a situation where we will be able to move quickly to get to the point that you, as a board of trustees, can make decisions. But yeah, right now I'm just asking to do work as your sole broker.
Anything else?
No, I had nothing else. I appreciate it. And then I definitely want to give the opportunity to Mr. Harmon to provide any comments or anything to the board before we have any discussion or make anything.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Right, thanks.
Thank you.
Well, good evening and thank you.
Please state your name and address, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Frank Harmon, 2534 Clark Shaw Road, Powell, Ohio. With what Mr. Savage said, a lot of that is correct, and certainly a very eloquent proposal. He's very good at presenting. Back in January, I found out who the chairperson of the board was, reached out to Chairperson Burkholder and asked who was going to be the person that was going to be designated, who we would be usually working with on the insurance. A couple of years ago, it was Mr. Evans. Last year, it was Ms. McKee. I think at the prior meeting, you appointed Mr. Evans again. Right after that meeting, I got in touch with Mr. Evans. And we've had a couple of challenging years the last couple of years, because we've had some significant and substantial claims and history in the group that caused larger than expected renewals. We are in a pooled program with Anthem. There's a lot of folks on that program. There's about 100,000 employees on that program throughout Ohio, but with our higher utilization, we saw higher renewals. We're able to offset that a little bit by changing the HRA deductibles, but that resulted in everybody having the same benefits. So we didn't change benefits at all, not on the medical, dental, vision, life. We've continued to have the same benefits at the end of the day. This year, speaking with both Mr. Burkholder and Mr. Evans, I was excited because we have some demographic shifts in the group. We don't have some of the same claimants and history. So I was talking with Mr. Evans and also Mr. Burkholder back in January and February about doing the form fire and updating that. Mr. Evans wanted to bring that to a board to go ahead and wait to pass it out to employees, which is great. But we're ready to go. Mark, I think you and I had a long discussion of who's going to be here. May 1st, we've already updated form fire to have those employees in there. Those employees that are not going to be here May 1st will not have to complete form fire because they won't be on the plan. So we've got everything ready to go. We just got to go tomorrow and hit the send button. I think I've worked with Etna Township for probably 12, 13 years now, and then even worked with Etna Township back in the 90s for a while, and then I think you guys had another broker for 5 or 6 years before coming back to Ohio Insurance Services. I think the plan we have is a fantastic plan. I know we've discussed some debit cards, right, and integrating that into the plan, potentially maybe doing away with the HSA portion, maybe not. So we've talked about some of those changes that we could do to make the plan maybe a little simpler for the employees. But in talking to all the employees at employee meetings in the last couple of years, I've not heard of any dissatisfaction really to speak of. And we've provided the day in, day out service, excuse me, that they've always wanted.
So it sounds like you had a conversation with Mr. Evans recently.
About a week or two ago, I think, and I think before that with Mr. Burkholder, and we just had to see who was going to be chairing the insurance committee this year, yes.
Because he, looks like Mr. Evans sent us an email a few days ago, actually yesterday, and he made it clear benefits, below is a benefit consultant, I am going to recommend we switch to, due to the stated timelines for the renewal, we need to, the action be done by the 20th. So it looks like I have worked for the last 2 months executive with the fire district, so he's familiar with Waypoint, so I guess that's one of the reasons why Mr. Evans is bringing that to the board.
Well, I can expound on my reasonings, because there has been some challenges. I mean, if we want to go into it briefly, of one of the latest increase in benefits with the eye coverage, of it's an increase, no, it's not an increase, and again, as an an official, we cannot receive increases.
Sure.
And
there was a cost savings.
there was that, and then with the prosecutor, and I just thought that was a little clunky, but as far as, and then we haven't had appropriations in the beginning of the year, and there was an issue with payments being made when we don't have appropriations as a board. I just think that with maybe a new approach of, I've never heard anything addressed of let's poll the employees, let's see what they're doing, not just the numbers. And I think, well, I appreciate your service to the township and what you've provided. I think it's time that we kind of go for a new approach. I'm actually very excited with everything I've seen at the fire district, the service to the township, and most importantly, our employees. We want to provide the best to the employees to keep them happy, keep them here. So that's why I suggested this change for that reason.
So I certainly appreciate that. At the employee meetings we've had in the last couple of years, I've got feedback from the employees. Everybody is happy with the plan. We have wonderful coverage, medical, dental, vision, life, so there's not anything that is really lacking, and I don't think we can improve the benefit coverage of the medical plan as a lot. We could tweak it, maybe do a debit card. I know you and I talked about that a couple of weeks ago, last week. I know we talked about other variables that we could introduce as well. This is the first year in a couple of years now where we've got a pretty healthy group. So I'm very excited. I think we can keep the same level of benefits that we have. We could maybe make some tweaks here and there, but we should be able to capture 30 or 40% savings. And I'm ready to move forward and get this renewal process. I've been ready now for a couple of weeks to move forward with the form fire. So I was just waiting.
Are there any other questions for Mr.
Yeah, any further questions from the board? Okay.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Harmon.
Thank you.
Mr. Harmon.
And then, just for brief discussion, as Mr. Harmon indicated, there's been a change. There'll be a change with form fire coverages, and that's why I think it's important to kind of make that change now. If we're going to ever change, now's the time to do it, especially with renewal May 1st. I think eventually we should look at syncing that up with the January 1st, because anytime you change plans, you got deductible credits and this. If you do it January 1st where it coincides with the calendar year, it's just a lot simpler. And again, I've been very impressed with Waypoint, their staff, their responses, the time they put in, and the times that it would be inconvenient for most personally, and they still take care of business, and they've met every deadline that they've said they've met. Very impressed, and again, I think their approach is aligned to what we want moving forward. And I'd simply motion, I move to provide the following 4 items. Number 1, authorize the initiation of a form fire broker of record transfer to Waypoint Benefit Solutions. Number 2, authorize the completion of an Anthem broker of record transfer effective immediately. Authorize the completion of an intention to change broker letter to Delta Dental Vision Service Plan and Standard Life. And 4, provide HRA transition, current TPA through February, transitioned to Waypoint in March, with a letter to current TPA requesting professional courtesy, mutually beneficial TPA transition on an expedited basis, and request monthly reconciliation and per member DOS audits with the provided spreadsheet. And with that, any required forms that need to be signed, I would ask that myself, Trustee Evans, be authorized to sign on the board's behalf.
Is there a second? I'll second the motion. Discussion?
There's a lot of discussions.
You have anything, Ms. McKee?
I'm just concerned the fact that, sending that email saying we have to make a decision by the 20th. That to me is not something a board should be doing on email. So, I'm gonna leave it at that.
Do you have anything else, Mr. Evans?
Yes, the only reason for the expedited need for a decision is because of the May 1st timeline. Now, what we've dealt with at the fire district was partially due to a very short timeline. They approved a plan one day before it was effective. And that's what I'm trying to avoid here. Again, I'm very confident in Mr. Savage's and Waypoint's ability to handle this transition. I think it'll be a benefit for the township. And although typically I would say we could bring several brokers in here, but we've got two sitting before us. But the fire district, our partner in the area, performed due diligence back in April when they made that change. They interviewed two others. Again, I spoke to many about other brokers and that, and I just feel like now's the time with the savings, with the new employees and all that. If you're not going to do it now, I don't think you'll do it ever. So I would just ask the board approve this.
I want to thank you, Mr. Evans, for the work. I knew it took a lot of time and energy and the attention to detail. I want to thank both of our brokers here tonight. And is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
No.
Motion passes. Thank you, and thank you, gentlemen, for
Thank you.
presenting to the board.
Have a good night, gentlemen.
We'll contact you.
Yeah,
Okay, our next item is Pike Street, which I've given an update on, and I've also talked about the wide room plant project, and I'll have contact with the district on that and would like to present that at the next board meeting as well. On the security system, the security system is here in the town hall, as well as the key box. It is locked up and secured. I agree with getting the passwords from all employees. I realize we still have some outstanding, and I will follow up on that. The part of the delay is I want to have a meeting with state security and talk about the installation. I know this board's discussed it quite a bit, but getting those cameras installed in the facility and also externally. And I have not had a chance to meet with him yet, but we have been in correspondence. So that is important. And from a security standpoint, in addition to that, when I attended the Ohio Township Association, OTARMA, who represent risk here at the township, I got a flyer from them, which I'm going to share with both trustees regarding some best practices, and they advised that we have a meeting, and I would like to meet with the OTARMA representative, state security, and then also our internet IT provider, and have a meeting about what the best, not only the best practices, but what the plan will be to provide the level of security, what's best to reduce risk and also protect both property and persons within the hall. So I think that's the proper methodology. I know it's taken longer than we expect, but we have a tremendous amount of items lapping over the township and all the personnel, so. But I will open it up for discussion to my colleagues if you have any comments on that.
Yeah, I just have a quick question as I've pushed. For my safety and others, again, we need the security system installed, even the old one. I believe we can have SOS, simply copy the hard drive and plug it in. That's all that's required. Right now, again, with the false accusations and everything, I do not feel safe in this building. And it's a simple thing as, again, SOS, just making a copy.
Well, go ahead.
Just one more minute. But even then, I don't believe we have the passwords to access that. So I would really urge that be addressed immediately with SOS. It'd be a small charge.
Well,
And
I've had a conversation with SOS already. My question is, who has the passwords?
That was my next thing of the passwords still have not been provided, and if an employee would have left when they said we would not have had passwords. I really think it's critical that all passwords be provided, and even with that system, because we don't have access. We're dealing with on the fire district where they lost access to a system. And
Well,
it's been an issue, so.
I still don't know the person that has the password on that, so.
Well, I know
Do either of the trustees have the password to the
No.
security
it
system?
was changed by, I believe, Ms. McKee.
Oh, Mr. Evans, you just lied on me.
I said, I believe, and
No,
I did not,
no, I never had the
But-
password. You had the password,
Okay,
Mr. Evans,
well,
be honest.
I am going to, I realize this is a contentious point, but I am going to check with
Be honest.
both security firms, and I have talked to SOS.
Never had it.
It's my understanding they do not have the password.
No, they reset it
So-
because of the fact that Mr. Evans
As I
got
said,
the password.
well, we're not,
And
we,
excuse me, Mr. Burkholder, I'm
No.
going to speak just like you let Mr. Evans speak. I'm going to speak, okay? You cut me off last meeting, but I'm going to speak.
No, I
I'm a
didn't.
Yes, you did. I'm a trustee, just like you and just like Mark, and I'm going to speak.
Well,
So this, I'm going to take, right now, I'm going to make it clear. I'm going to make it clear. No, it's no brief. I get 3 minutes just like you and everybody else, okay? Let's make that clear. Okay, so
Get to your
Mr. Evans had the password. He accessed these cameras here, okay? We found out after 2 weeks, or I forget how long it was. Once we found out he had the password, we brought the gentleman that owns the company, SOS, to come in and reset it. That's the last time that password was changed. After that, I don't know what happened. I've never had access to the passwords, ever.
and
None of the trustees did.
I
He was
will-
the only one that did.
I will contact
So let's be
SOS
honest.
again. It was my understanding he did not have the password, but I will
Well,
coordinate
wait a minute,
between,
Mr. Burkholder.
I will coordinate between the
Wait a
two
minute.
companies. Let me finish.
Okay, then you can finish.
I
I'm gonna
I
tell you
will
the truth.
coordinate with both companies
here.
and get that password. Yes, I was here.
No, you were not, obviously, because you don't remember the fact that we got a report that Mr. Evans was accessing.
Yes, I
it?
do. I
Okay,
attended
so
that
how do you
meeting.
get that?
Let-
Password. You
Let,
have to have a password to
so
get in.
does the consultant you brought in have the password?
Never had the password. Nobody had the password but Mr. Evans.
How did he get the report then?
The report was done after it was reset.
Okay.
They reset the password, so
So
we.
does that company that you brought in, the third party,
That
have
would be
the
state
password?
security. Talk to state security. Yes.
Okay,
And that's the person you said you're gonna be meeting with.
that's correct.
Perfect.
Very good. Drayton Hall. I had a call from David Hodge, who represents the developer, and it's his understanding that the Langles would like to close on that, and I'll open it up for discussion. I don't know if any of you have had any other information or contact, but they would like to close by March 1st. He would have liked to have been here this evening, but he had another appointment. I said, well, I think we can discuss it here. There are some issues, though, with the plat and getting that finalized at Licking County Planning. So, and I talked to Licking County Planning, and there's gonna be some splits or maybe some combinations, and then there's some easement issues as well. And then he also asked if the township board would be interested interested in getting the rest of the road completed to the cul-de-sac so that we would have access to the park. And he has sent over, which if I haven't already, I'll forward to the board, some of the costs if we want to complete that roadway now. Because as you know, they only go so far along the development, and the rest of the stretch of the road back to the entrance to the parkland would be on the township's dime. But that it might be more cost effective to do that now, since the contractor would be mobilized. So I'll open it up for discussion.
Okay, well, I'm glad to see that we're going to be closing, because that's been one of the questions before. It's been in escrow on those two conditions.
Yes.
And I've been kind of pushing our prior firm as to when or if we already met those conditions. So I'm glad to see that's moving forward. As far as the road costs, I would assume that we could wrap that up into the cost of the park improvements and possibly use grants or other funding instead of at this time. I'm sure it'll be an out-of-pocket cost for us. So I would probably lean towards just wait until the park, because we're going to have to provide roads in the park. So it'd just be a little bit of an extension, is my thought.
Ms. McKee, do you have anything?
I forgot, I'm gonna go back real quick. Julie, I think, Julie, you have the passwords to the,
I do.
yeah.
Well,
so-
I have something from Nita, but I'm not sure if it's the.
Yeah, you have the passwords to the town hall in the garage. So, yeah, you
To
should
the
have spoken.
NPR.
Yep. So, go ahead. So, sorry, I just wanted to get that clear before we moved on to Drayton Hall. I don't have anything on Drayton Hall, but I'm glad we are going to be able to move forward on that, because that's been like.
Well, my
and that's
question
what-
is, it's a very complicated transaction, so do we, and I'll ask Mr. Evans, do you feel we need to have this reviewed by Bricker Graydon, since now we have easements involved, and there's been some discussion of a blanket easement, and as you know, there's a lot of moving parts on this, and I don't know how much.
Yeah, I believe
brochures
either
and grids.
Bricker and Graydon, or there was another firm that handled the actual purchase and that of the property for us. The prosecutor, I believe, recommended them, so I'm not sure if they would be ones maybe to go to. I'm not familiar with their name.
Let me ask this, since we've had some questions about where the records are, all those records here in the town hall? Do all those
It
records
should be.
reside regarding this?
Well, look, the records have been kept from me.
So, Mr.
Ms.
Evans,
McKee?
Yes, sir.
Do you know
I have no idea.
where those records
Because I
reside?
don't know, that would be your administrator.
We can look through them.
Yeah. But-
They probably know.
Oh,
Just want to make sure, so if we do refer it, we have all the information.
What I can look through. I think I was tagged on an email of the other firm, and maybe we can get contact with them. But I would say, I mean, if you're looking for approval, I'd move to allow the board president to contact either Bricker or Graydon or the existing firm that worked on the park purchase property to deal with any closing matters.
Is there a second? I'll second the motion so that we can keep this project moving forward. I know that the timetable and how soon this would close was an issue, but we want to make sure we have everything in its proper place, and also that the concerns that Licking County Planning has as well. I think it's in our best interest to have those addressed as well.
so you're going to have a law firm, look over the final decisions on this Drayton Hall, the new law firm?
Yeah, I think we need to, given the fact that a lot of this information has not been shared with the current board, I think it's extremely important. There's all kinds of details, there's all kinds of questions, and Mr. Hodge and I had a very good conversation, and he wants to work with us, but there's a lot of moving parts, and if we're going to take on property and be responsible for it, and the fact that Drayton Hall's drainage is coming in onto parkland that will be owned by the township, he did mention that there was some kind of an agreement that 50% of that maintenance would be split between the owner and the township, but he said he was open to maybe having 100% of that. to be maintained by the out parcels and the housing development.
As far as I've heard, it was going to be put on a ditch petition, or they were responsible. That's one of the issues that I don't think we really know what the agreements were. And as far as the closing, I think it's important because the original park property didn't have the access through the JBW property, but it was through the Lengo property, and all of a sudden that changed. So I'm not sure how those things changed, who approved them and that, but that's where I think we've got to make sure that it's properly reviewed. And I would say that, well, we probably don't have we might not have an ongoing approval for that prior firm, so it might be wise to go with Bricker and Braden, but I'll leave that up to the board president in the motion.
Very good. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
No.
Okay, we'll come up to the farm lease, and Kevin Keller, Mr. Keller, would you like to come up and address the board on that?
I think we've already discussed it. Is there a question you have?
Okay, well, we'll wait and see.
I don't know what the discussion
Go ahead.
was.
Take that. I had the pleasure of speaking with Mr. Keller, and we kind of went over this a little bit. And one of my concerns before was the lower, I guess, valuation of the per acre unit. And based on what he said of not being able to really put the additives to the soil, do a lot of things that you would usually do if you had a lease for a long time period. So it does make sense here, and he even offered increasing it a bit per acre, reviewing that, and I see that it is up 25 per tillable acre, so I appreciate that. So
Would you like to make a motion?
I'm definitely for. I would move to approve this land rent contract as presented.
Is there a second? I'll second. Discussion? Any questions?
No.
Any comments, Mr. Keller?
I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem.
Let me know if there's anything you need moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that information to the board.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Look forward to working with you.
You too, sir.
Roll call.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Motion passes. We've had the health insurance. I'll make a motion that you authorize the president of the board to continue to move forward with an interim township secretary. I know that, and is there a second?
I'll second, but want some clarification.
Well, I have not heard back from Dawson. They have the job description. Do you have anything, fiscal officer, Varian? So we're following up on that, but I think it wouldn't hurt if we also advertise for an interim to get someone in here to bridge the gap.
Most definitely. I mean, do you
I
want?
just want the authority to go ahead
Okay.
and get that posted, and
I'll move to allow President Burkholder to advertise for the interim township secretary position with, well, do we want to keep it interim or interim to hire? Possible, leave it open to hire if we're going to
well,
advertise?
I think it's an option, and if it works out, then I think we
Okay.
want to.
Well, I'll amend my motion. I'll move to allow the President Burkholder to seek and advertise for a township secretary, whether interim or interim to full-time.
I'll second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
New business, AHS Aetna grant funding for public road discussion. Move to discuss this. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Mr. Evans, you've,
Yeah, this is the $100,000 grant that originally TPA said that they were going to use $50,000. They could give back the $50,000. There was no written grant agreement, which has caused the issue. There's been some, I've just been aware of the prior communications regarding this with our former administrator and that. But since then, there's been new, and with that, our prior firm, but since then, there's been a new request with some facts that were provided by the developer as to why they should be provided this funding that was paid to the township. And typically the policy is of the prosecutor, if you've had another outside firm review something, they're not going to review it. However, the firm that reviewed it is no longer engaged with the township. So I think we're going to have to ask either the prosecutor to revisit that and to consider this additional communication and then make a decision, or possibly have Bricker and Graydon. I'd prefer the prosecutor route since it's at no cost. So I just need authority to do that. If the board would like me to
The only
continue
thing
handling it.
relative to discussion I have is the prosecutor going to be able to execute that timely? And I'm all for saving money by going to the prosecutor, but given this is a little more specialized, and I'm open to whatever the other board members feel is appropriate, I'm willing to go either way. The timing, I know they've corresponded to us that we have a long laundry list with them, and they're backed up as well. So what's the pleasure of the board? If you want to go to the prosecutor, I'm all for it, but I do think we need an opinion.
I do think that it's important here because we have to, if it was a verbal agreement or what, we need to deal with it because we need to be seen as keeping our word with developers. However, I am concerned about why there wasn't a written agreement. So I think I'm leaning towards what you're saying of have this reviewed since it is kind of a unique situation by Bricker and Graydon. So I'll move that this matter be
You mean by
One discussion.
Bricker and Graydon.
and Graydon?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Bricker and Graydon
There'll be discussion.
with the you would be point still.
And you have you have all the file and documents.
And I could provide all that stuff too.
Okay, and I'll second that motion. Discussion? Ms. McKee?
The prosecutor's already weighed in on this. It's been clear. I forwarded the email like I promised at our last meeting.
Right.
Now you want to spend more money to go to a second opinion. Makes no sense. There was no contract. She made it clear. We spent money with Griggs' office. They made it clear. Our prosecutor from the county made it clear. Now you want to spend money again with this new firm that you guys hired. I don't think we should because there's no contract there. Okay, remember, you're giving $100,000 away, and of course, we will be audited on that in the future because there is no contract that says we are obligated to pay this AHS the money. So I will be very careful with that.
What did the prosecutor,
Well, I forwarded you the email.
you saw that as well, Mr. Evans?
Yep.
Well, no, the prosecutor didn't give an opinion because Brocious and Griggs provided the opinion. I just got that opinion recently. They were under the advisement that we do not provide them the funds. However, my point is, since then, they have made an official request with stated reasons that were not considered as part of that review. So to say that, well, they reviewed it, they said no. I did speak with the ODOT rep, Fred Vogel, who stated excuse me?
He's not a lawyer, he's not representing us.
Let him finish, please.
Fred Vogel, who is in charge of these grants at ODOT, said that they're due the money because the grants are sought from ODOT for specific work in that area. Well, the township did not do that work. The developers did that work. So again, if we would have had a written agreement, I think that would have been fine. But I believe that, you know, most of the agreements, it's a 5% holdback for our legal fees and that. So we wouldn't be out any legal fees in that regard, even if we do make that payment. But I believe it is prudent, and the prosecutor stated if it's already been adjudicated or handled by an outside firm, they are not going to handle it.
Well, let me just say, Ms. McKee, I agree with your point. If it's not written down in a contract, but given the fact that they've made a subsequent request, given the fact that we've had some input from the Ohio Department of Transportation, but I think your point's well taken. If we're not obligated to pay that, and there's no legal document requiring that, then I think that money should be retained. But I want to make sure, since we're dealing with Ohio Department of Transportation, we're dealing with grants, that we err on the right side of this issue and treat everyone rather than making a quick decision, so.
Yeah, well, you're right, I agree with you, Mr. Burkholder, but I want to be clear. You may not agree with me. I am not somebody that's just going to spend the township's money leisurely, okay? I'm trying to save us money, and that's why, and I've done that since I've been on this board, okay? That money is not due them. There's no contract, I'm gonna be clear. We spent money already on legal with Peter Griggs' office. The prosecutors also weighed in on. That's 2 firms that's weighed in on. Now you're willing to go out and spend again, there's no contract. So, but again, I'm trying to save the township money. Maybe you guys don't care about that, I do.
Well, I'm only going to have one quick comment, and to say that I don't care about the township's money, I do. But I've been coming to these meetings well over
Doesn't
2
matter.
years, and I've seen, let me finish, please. And there are a lot of things that we have to fix and clean up. And that, unfortunately, is why we have additional costs. I'm not putting that all on you. There were previous boards, and things were not done properly. And we have things in our neighborhoods that have to be corrected. So the point is, you can make a rash decision and then have a lawsuit,
That's right.
or tarnish
That's right.
tarnish the reputation of the township that we don't pay our
Absolutely right.
bills.
Even with the water
And
board,
so
you get
that's-
lawsuits because it's with those as well.
So that's my point. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
No.
Thank you. Morpsey Planner Pool Program, I have nothing to comment on that. I don't think we need to make a decision at that
We
time.
need to discuss it though, Mr. Burkholder.
We did discuss it at the
Yeah.
last meeting.
Yeah, so it's back on here for a reason, correct?
There's nothing more to present. I haven't heard anything. If you want to make a motion to discuss it, go ahead.
I would love to make a motion to discuss it. We're gonna spend another $18,300.
I'll
No,
make-
I'm sorry, I pull that back. But this is a planner that could be from, what, $55 to $135 or $155 an hour, am I
That's
correct?
right, that's correct.
Okay, so with this planner, would they?
We'll make a
be-
motion to discuss.
Okay, let's
and
make a
then
motion to discuss.
I'll second.
Okay,
Roll call, please.
yes,
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
yes,
yes, go ahead.
discussion. Okay, so are we going to look for a zoning, because a planner is more into writing code. So is this going to be separate from hiring a zoning person or a zoning inspector? That's just a question that I have.
Yes, it would be.
Okay.
But I think our most immediate need is to get the zoning inspector
So
position.
the plant, so we'll use them, and then once we hire them, this still would go through the county, because the county still would have to weigh in on whatever they do. Is that correct, Mr. Burkholder?
No, they're not replacing it, but they would be,
No, but I'm saying we would still, that whatever the planner, whatever we bring in here as a planner, that we're paying $55 to $135 an hour, that whatever they decide to do, even like I said, they write code, they would still weigh in with the county. The county would have to approve that. Is that?
no, they're not, this would be an interim because we have a need here in the zoning department.
Correct.
And that was an option to go to the Morpsey Planner Pool.
Correct.
But I think we have some more options as well now, as far as getting an interim full-time zoning inspector
I get it.
that would have the level of expertise to take care of the immediate need, which is to approve applications. But I do have a concern, I think down the road, getting a position, and when we've been, as a collective board, trying to solve our employment needs, this was an option. But there's also the option of bringing in, there are a lot of zoning inspectors, maybe retired or part-time, that might be willing to fill in here in the office as well. But down the road, I do think that we need a planner, a director of planning, and of zoning administrator, combined position, and I've given you a job description on that.
Yep.
So, but I'm not advocating that we do anything with Morpsey at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Any, Mr. Evans?
Just briefly, I mean, this again doesn't go to the county or anything, it's for our in-house review and function, but I think it is important that we have people and organizations in our bullpen ready to go if we need it, because there's timelines of certain filings and that need to be addressed. So I think we need to put these things in place. It doesn't mean we have to use them, but it means that we can make a call and they're ready to serve. Now, I did see the communication from Bricker and Graydon, who indicated they could provide the services, but there's another firm that they work harmoniously with at a much lower rate. And I would almost encourage us to look at them to provide those services, because I think we're on the right track of going more of a planner and then an inspector, because one of the issues we've had is, you know, with the use codes and zoning, and especially if we're going to be looking at with the comprehensive plan going more toward form-based, and we're going to be needing to make a lot of changes, and if we could do that in-house or through these entities, I think we should do that. But we've had our zoning inspector put in his resignation, I think 50 days ago, 40 some days ago, and I think we need something in place. So again, I was encouraged by the Bricker and Graydon recommendation. I think we need to, without haste, get one of these two set up. I'd lean more towards the Bricker and Graydon, since for the more complicated matters, they could transition in pretty easily.
And I agree with that, Mr. Evans. That came up in a conversation with Mr. Conover, and I was glad that he sent that email and made that recommendation. So I will contact him tomorrow. And I haven't talked to that firm that they're recommending, but I agree that we need that redundancy so we have options in order to properly cover the office. Any further discussion?
No.
Thank you. Smoke Creek Development Sidewalk Agreement. At this time, I will recognize Mr. Sabatino to come up and speak. And Mr. Sabatino, if you'd please give your full name and your address, and you have the floor. Thank you for coming.
Hello. Thank you. Ron Sabatino, 3895 Sunridge Lane. Most would agree that Licking County regional planning is in complete chaos and has been for several years. In the past approximate 2 months, around the beginning of the year, after nearly 4 years of their review of our Smoke Creek development plan, which remains unapproved by them, despite our competent EMH&T, the largest engineering firm in Central Ohio, they've asked me to do something impossible. They've asked me to extend a sidewalk, and their code, their planning regulations require during a development that the sidewalk be extended from property line to property line on your frontage street. The impossibility kicks in that, in addition to the requirements they put upon us to widen the road and build turn lanes and dedicate them more road right-of-way or width in which the sidewalk goes, the property to our east is a small 2-acre site with lakes and mostly in the floodplain. But the problem is that they don't have the same width that we do For example, if our sidewalk is here, because our road right-of-way comes to here, I can't extend it to their property because their road right-of-way doesn't begin until the other side of that table. So I can't take the sidewalk because it actually will be behind one of their fences, 25 feet onto their property. And you've seen this before, Ron.
I've got it pulled up here.
Yeah,
too.
I don't know if you have this, but you'll see on there where the sidewalk is, and then you'll see that to extend that sidewalk to their property will be even behind the fence and 25 feet from where it's not allowed to be installed. So I'm here, so we are applying for a variance. We believe that they will grant us the variance because how could they not grant the variance with these circumstances? But one of the planners said, well, what if that's developed in the future? Then who's going to build it? Who's going to connect it to a mythical sidewalk that will be built through a lake and in a floodplain if that happens in the future? And that's when I drafted an agreement to try to protect the township so you guys would never have to worry about that. And that draft agreement has been sent to the prosecutor and changed back in December, in which they made a revision to it. And so I'm here tonight to say, to ask for your support for the variance. If you can't support the variance, don't oppose my variance. And lastly, if you want to do this agreement, I'm happy to sign the agreement.
When's the hearing with LCPC?
Any day now. Which means any month now. Which may mean a year now. And again, this is for after nearly for preliminary approval, right? We still then have to go back and do final approval.
Any questions for the other trustees?
No, not at all.
Comments?
Yeah, the only thing, this was the first I've heard of it. I heard it was going to a prosecutor, and again, first I've heard of it. The only thing I want to make sure is that if anything in the future, we're protected. Mr. Sabatino mentioned something about bond, prefer not a bond, because you don't know if it's going to be in 10 years, 50 years, you don't want that hanging out there. So I would prefer maybe one of the firms, the zoning firms, or attorney firm to review this and give their opinion. Because I'd hate to say, okay, we'll deal with it in the future, but then maybe that, hinders future boards or impacts people in other ways. So I would just like to get more review and maybe a recommendation by someone more knowledgeable about these matters.
Ms. McKee, do you have anything?
I know that our prosecutor has not weighed on the latest one, so, yeah, so it's kind of.
Do you have any of the history of the
So
previous?
let me just respond and say, Mark, this isn't the first you've heard of it. You and I spoke about this on the phone 3 weeks ago.
Well, then,
But not
this year.
withstanding that, my request tonight is, first, to ask for your support for the variance. Second, if you don't want to support my variance, just don't oppose it. And then third, whatever you choose to do on that is okay. I think your previous zoning inspector was inclined, in fact, he stated to me that he would recommend approval of the variance.
Okay, but we never got any of that information through reports or anything. When I say this is the first I'm hearing about it, it's this year is the first. And apparently, this has been going on for a while. I haven't seen any communications from the prosecutor, even on the initial stuff. And that stuff's supposed to be shared with the full board. So I think we need to get the history of that.
Yeah, I think the Nita that was the one interacting with him.
Well, we,
Right, and so why don't you send the revision to the prosecutor to see if he sees it satisfactory? That would be my suggestion.
well, yeah, and get the history
Yeah,
and
well-
get more information before we support, oppose.
Right, I agree. Well, I want to thank Mr. Sabatino for coming in and explaining it and giving us the detail and kind of the roadmap of the process. And I respect your request, for or against, but you're right, we need more information. But I'm glad that you made us aware, but also provided the detail of what your objective is.
And I'd like to say, I think we should be able to handle this quickly, do a little due diligence, get some recommendations, and maybe the next meeting handle it.
Good.
I don't think it should be delayed for delayed sakes.
The county works for you, right? The services they provide in planning and zoning are for you as a township and every township they have. And they've been doing you a disservice because all of their attention is in the far north. And those stakeholders in Etna Township, need you to stand up to Licking County for the abuse they've been giving you as a township.
Thank you.
I would note that, in case you don't know, Lincoln County Planning Commission Director has resigned. He left February 9th, so the county commissioners are doing a search to get a new. And I say this because there are a lot of challenges, not just for Etna, but through the entire county, and not just with Intel, but having, as we've talked here, having the capacity, the throughput to deal with all this current development, and then dealing with some of the challenges from previous developments, as we have with Scannell and Main Street, and some of the things we're following up on. So I understand the frustration, but this is unprecedented in the history of Licking County, the growth and development and the number of plans that are flooding in there every day. And I don't have any idea of how long it's going to take to get a new Licking County Planning Commission director. But that's some of the things that we're all dealing with. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sabatino. I'd like to take the items E, F, G, and hold off on those until after we have our executive session, since they deal with employment. And the next, I'll make a motion to approve the 2023 Township Highway
Did
System
you want
mileage.
D? Sorry, D too?
Yes.
Which one? E, F,
Well,
and G?
I'll deal with D now. I'm glad you
Okay.
brought that up. You have a proposal. I'm not asking, I brought this proposal forward. This has to do with hiring a township administrator. At this time, I wanted to at least make the other Board of Trustees aware of the services out there. I think for the position of township administrator, it's prudent for the township to consider a recruitment firm. This is a top-level position, and it's a very important position, unique, and it's going to require a high level of skill here for Etna Township. So I've submitted you a proposal from a firm, a very renowned and distinguished firm here in Central Ohio, and I will have this on the next agenda, and I'll be supporting it for approval.
We don't want to address it now, because
If you-
looking at their scheduled timeline, I mean, the support interview and selection process is 12 to 17 weeks out, and we're just going to push it out another 2 to 3 weeks. I would actually move to approve the recruitment proposal as presented.
Well, then I will second that. I'll second that motion. Discussion?
Yeah. I have questions.
Yes.
Discussion. So it's $18,500
Yes,
to hire this firm.
yes.
My question is, how long is the contract? How long is that contract? Is that until he finds somebody, or they find somebody? Or if it's 3 months and they don't find anybody, then we have to re-up it again? I have those questions.
No, they will bring candidates to us for for a decision.
For how long is what I'm saying? What if we don't find one in that first bunch or second bunch? What is it, the contract? Is it 3 months, 4 months for the $18,500 that we're gonna, may spend if we decide as a board to go that route?
Well, it depends on, that timeline may vary. We could have them expedited, or if it takes a while to get the candidates. But part of that contract is they'll come in and ask us there is a process. What kind of person do we want? What kind of skill level?
I get that,
Yeah.
Mr.
But no, they won't re-up and charge you another
Okay,
$18,500.
so is that 18,500, is that a 6-month contract?
It's a contract to provide the services, and once they've
Is that a
provided those services, then it's up to the board to decide if we're gonna hire those
Again,
candidates.
my question is not being answered. It's $18,500 we're gonna spend as a recruiting firm, and I'm very familiar with recruiting firms.
Okay.
So once we if we don't find somebody in 6 months, 3 months, it's a contract. It's a contract. So what happens? Is there a 3-month contract? Is it a 30-day contract? Is it a 6-month contract? If we
Mr.
don't find somebody, I'm just asking a question since you brought it to the board.
What do you mean if we don't find
If we don't
someone?
find somebody within 6 months or 3 months, that's what I'm saying, how long is the contract?
Can I explain quickly? I
Go ahead.
think this is a performance-based proposal here. There's not a timeline, there's a sample schedule. So if you look at the project overview, it lists what they're gonna do. They're gonna search, they're gonna identify the top 6 to 8 candidates, they're gonna recommend to interview 4 to 6, we're gonna go through the panels, the interview panels and all that stuff. And then when we get to the end, that's when we can decide, okay, we found the match, they've accepted, maybe that candidate did, maybe there's a second. And then if that process doesn't work, then we could either continue with them, or if maybe we found that something wasn't working with the firm, you could go on to another firm. But there's no specific time of, you're gonna do everything we want for the next 6 months, because it just doesn't work like that. So it's performance-based.
So it is a contract, it's performance-based.
Yes.
And it sounds like to me that if it doesn't work out, then we go out and do another search for another headhunter company to do the same thing for us, correct? If this one doesn't work out for us.
Or they just provide additional services.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
No.
Motion passes. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the 2023 or 2024?
2023.
2023 Township Highway System Mileage Certification.
I'll second.
Any discussion? We got this from the county engineer, and he advised that we need to return that form. And so is there any discussion, questions on them? I know you've dealt with the roads extensively, Mr. Evans. So what is it, 57?
It's increased to 57.065, but it's just due by March 1st. So we'll just have to make sure that it's signed. I believe Julie has a copy in her folder to sign and get that to them by then.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee, I have a question. Back under the farm lease, we did get the CAUV filed, correct?
Yes, we did.
Very
Thanks
good.
for asking.
And thank you for doing that. We had 2 resignations for the Board of Zoning Appeals. I'll make a motion to advertise for 2 positions on the Etna Township Board of Zoning Appeals. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
I'd like to amend that motion to advertise for 2 positions and then also 1 alternate. Because the ORC allows for up to 2 alternates. We have 1, why not seek, just in case there are other changes?
I'll second that amendment. Any further discussion on the amendment to add the alternate, to advertise for the alternate? Hearing none, roll call on the amendment, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Any further discussion on the main motion to advertise for these 3 positions?
No, sir.
Hearing none, roll call on the main motion, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Motion passes. Fiscal officer report.
the month of January, we had 259,000 in revenue and expenses. We had 496,000, and our total fund balance in the bank is 7.3 million.
Very good. Any questions? Transfers?
No.
And then I'd move resolution number 24-014 to approve purchase orders as presented.
Is there a second?
Second with discussion.
Go ahead.
I've asked Mrs. Varian to please bring these to us early enough for us to look over them. We approved something last meeting that didn't get a chance to look over ahead of time. Example, the OCMA, which is Mr. Burkhardt, I think did a reimbursement to you for $400.
That is correct.
And I'm not sure why you would be involved in that. That's for the Ohio City and County Management Association, which this is a township, so I'm not sure why we're spending the $400. So I didn't catch that ahead of time. I went and did my research and been able to discuss it. So I just would ask Ms. Varian to please, like we asked before, to try to get the stuff to us early enough that we can go over it and just be able to be familiar with what we're spending.
That is a professional organization that township administrators can belong to as well, as
You're
long
not an
as
administrator.
they're I have been a village administrator and I've been a city manager.
Well, this is
And there's continuing, let me finish, and there's continuing education, and I'm glad you brought it up because I'm a firm supporter of continuing education, not only for the Board of Trustees, but for all of our employees, which I fully supported sending them to the Ohio Township Association, and I support them for any other continuing education, as well as our BZA members, which I know Mr. Evans has brought up. We'd like to have more training and education for them. For our Planning Commission members, we need to give them that support. But as leaders in the community, we need to continue to develop our skills, and the interaction and the relationships formed in these professional organizations are invaluable.
Right.
And the relationships between municipalities and townships, and I felt this way for a long time, are more critical than ever with Intel. Having good relationships with Reynoldsburg, and I do want to thank all three trustees. We all attended the State of the City in Reynoldsburg that Mayor Begany gave us, and we have common goals. So I fully support the education. I'm glad you brought it up. It's on the record, and I'm glad I'm going to it. And by the way, just so there's full transparency, our attendance to local, state, and national conferences was approved, I believe, during the reorganization meeting?
Yes, sir.
We did approve continuing education, but this is just, like I said, Mr. Burkholder, you can go look at my LinkedIn page. I'm probably one of the most important person that I would say that likes to talk about education and also continue my education. I have a master's degree. I just finished the John Speen School of Business. So I applaud you for wanting to continue to educate, but it has to be something that's township related that's going to help us grow and be better. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, very
Thank
good.
you.
Roll call.
Yes, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And I'd like to move to approve the payments as listed.
I'll second. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to go into executive session. You're welcome to stay on items E, F, and G. There is a possibility that the board will take action after executive session. I don't know for certain if we'll go ahead and pass those motions, but I want to make you aware of that in case you want to stay around. So at this time, I'll make a motion to go into executive session per Ohio Revised Code 121.22G1 to consider complaints against public officials, complaints against public employees, possible disciplinary action of a public employee, and the employment and compensation of a public employee. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
No.
And it's 7:50 PM, and it will be just the three Board of
No, I
Trustees
won't
at
be
this
going
time.
into that, just for the record.
Would you like to explain why?
I don't have to explain why.
Okay, very good. We will be in executive session.
Right.
That's first.
Is there a motion to come out of the executive session at 8:49 PM?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second that. Roll call, please.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
We're now back to regular session. Item E. Any motion regarding the zoning inspector?
Yeah. I'll motion to allow the president of the board to advertise for the zoning inspector position with the, I don't have it on me, I saw it, with the description provided before, allowing him to make modifications as needed.
Is there a second? I'll second that motion. Discussion?
I just think it's time that we move forward looking to replace our the zoning inspector that left back on, I think it was January 2nd. So it's just needed to really continue providing the services for the residents in township.
I concur. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to advertise for a director of planning and zoning administration, and with the job description provided to the board. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Yeah, just outside the minor changes in there, and again, I think the board president should have a little leeway in the minor modifications in the.
Yeah, there are some corrections in there, and I think after talking with, we may want to modify that slightly, but I think that description talks about the level of person we'd like to see at the planning and zoning administration for the township. So we want to get that process started. Is there any further discussion?
No.
Ms. McKee?
No.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item G.
Item G, I would move to authorize myself, Trustee Evans, to engage with Ben Albrecht of Official Downing and Albrecht regarding an employment matter.
I'll second.
For what, discussion?
Yes.
What is this concerning?
It's concerning a matter between employees. I can't really say more. I could have within executive session, but it's regarding something that occurred today. So it's not a previous matter.
Yeah, it is a personnel matter, so any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
No.
I'll make a motion to authorize the president of the board to engage Remington Company. It's a legal profession, and with authorization up to $5,000 to deal with a emergent employment issue. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Yeah, discussion in regards to emergent employment issue concerning what? There's so much going on.
That was discussed in executive session, so I can't, you had the opportunity, Ms. McKee.
That's not what we're talking about, Mr. Burkholder. We're asking you, what is your discussion in regards to this $5,000 that you're trying to spend?
I can't reveal that. It's a
Yes, you
person.
can, because it's private. Yes, you can.
No, I can't.
Yes, you can.
It's a personnel
Oh, yes,
issue.
you can.
It's a personnel
I-
issue.
Oh, yes, you
I-
can, Mr. Burkholder.
I would just
You can.
like
The
to-
residents have the right to know that you're gonna spend $5,000 on some legal
No,
term,
it's,
which you've already, we need to know. What is it?
it's up to $5,000. You've been made aware of the situation, and it was discussed in executive session, and I can't go any further than that.
And,
Mr. Burkholder.
and I'd just like to point out, it might actually be zero cost, but out of abundance of caution, that amount, I believe, is prudent because it is time sensitive. And again, Ms. McKee, you were afforded the opportunity to be in executive session. You chose not to. And there's a reason that there are executive sessions to discuss sensitive matters. And you should have went into executive session.
I'm not going in there for you to attack me. You've done. I'm not gonna let you.
You're out of order, Ms. McKee.
Call me out of order.
Well, you are out of order.
Call me out of order. I want to.
Well, we're not going to go back to that, so. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
No.
Okay, I want to make sure we get everything covered here. Announcement and trustee comments. Ms. McKee?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, Letitia, you had some things, I'm going to recognize you. You had some things you wanted to announce to the board regarding an event. If you want to come up and state your name and address, please, and tell us what's going on.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Letitia McIntyre, 15 3rd Avenue Southwest in Etna. The prior year in April, is it on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The prior year in April, we had a community Easter egg hunt in the park. Invited the entire community, and it was really nice. A lot of people showed up in the community. We're trying to reach out, being that we are a local church, to help the community and, you know, have some input there. So we would like to do that again. We're looking to have 1,000 eggs this year, and of course, invite everybody to come. And so I would hope the board would approve with that kind of community output. And also, of course, the last time I was here for the June event in the 22nd of June, which is a Saturday, for our annual Songfest. And I did come in and talk to you about it before, about
Yes.
using the town hall and everything, just to store things. So that is also something we open up to the community, something that, you know, we want to be part of Etna, because we've been here in the community for, oh my God, 40 years. So we want to continue to do that. And so thank you very much for everything. We really appreciate it. We love being part of this community, and we want to see it grow.
Are you asking us, or I don't know if we need to approve the town hall use? And
We approved that as a request because
Okay.
since I'm over,
Yeah.
I just didn't know if she was
Right,
asking
right.
now, or, but I'm all for that.
Okay.
yeah, just for clarification, I've been approving.
Easter egg?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's March 31st. It's on the Sunday.
It's
We're-
on Easter?
Easter. Yeah.
You're doing the Easter egg on Easter.
Yep, that's when the Easter Bunny brings them.
And 12:30 is when we had planned to be out here, and there'll be big, huge eggs with prizes in it for the kids. Hey, adults can come too, I don't care. If you want to run around with a basket, that's okay.
No,
But we're inviting the entire community. We want to have everybody in Etna be a part of this, because it's just something nice that we can do, kind of a give back thing. I'm not asking for anything. We provide everything.
The-
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
the only thing I would ask, I know that when it gets warmer, we provide a portalet for the park. I don't know if we want to coordinate and try to have something out sooner, but I would recommend that when we do get a portalet this time, so I've got a lot of feedback, that we can get a handicapped accessible portalet, which gives more room for a parent with a child, and the standard size is just, while it's good when you need it, it's more accessible, and
I think they have one with a changing table on it too.
possibly, but I think possibly through Wind Waste or others, that we should give them more room, and because families are using it, and
Yeah.
so just something to think about. And if we can get it by March 31st, I think that would probably facilitate, which I think that's the purpose of having the park, is to provide that for the community.
Appreciate that.
Mr. Evans, would you just please follow up on that, so. might as
Does
well
Ms.
get that
McKee
moving.
want to do that since she is over park?
Yeah, she was.
Well,
I'm not gonna have Mr. Evans, I'm gonna ask you to do it since Ms. McKee
Doesn't want to.
basically
Okay.
I
refuses,
think
so.
you refused to do it, Mr. Burko, that's not
So-
true. You asked him.
Letitia, I want to thank you for asking, first of all, but thank your members as well for the work you do and the enthusiasm, because we have a nice park and
Yeah.
we should be using it. We've had several events, and I know the board wants to see more things happen here and that, so thanks for taking the initiative.
Yes, and just history about us, actually, the lady is back there. Doris is one of the pastors and one of the overseers of the church, and her and her sisters came when this building was being dedicated and sang and also helped with the ribbon cutting. We've tried to be a part of the community, and we want to continue that. And I thank you very much for letting us do these things and continuing to be part of our community together.
Right.
it's your park, it's everybody's park.
Yes, and of course, everyone is welcome. You guys can come too. Always
I've
love
been
to
to
see
your
you all
events,
come.
so they're
You
really
have.
nice, yeah.
Appreciate when people
Oh,
come.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Varian, do you have any comments? Okay, Mr. Evans?
Just to remind the board, we need to get the fire extinguishers recertified. They expired in January.
I've already
Rob
authored,
Levin's-
no, actually, state security. We've gotten a quote and I went ahead and authorized him to, I don't know that he's moved forward yet, but.
They're not, I just wanted
Okay,
to
thank you.
make you aware, because, just for safety purposes. I thought there was something else. Update on Wind Waste. I still need to deal with the renewal contract for Wind Waste. I'll look to have that done for our next meeting on the 5th. Just have to work with the prosecutor on that. Originally, the former administrator had Wind Waste propose a contract. I think we should really have done that, but we'll make sure that it's adequate and we can get that approved before their termination of the original contract on the 31st of March.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
March 26th, there will be a hearing at the county commissioners in the administration fourth floor. That'll be with the solar exclusionary zone. I believe that's at 6 o'clock, and I've mentioned it before, but I want to continue to mention it. I think we should put it on the community calendar and then also have it posted out on the bulletin board, so anyone that wants to attend to speak either for or against the resolution that the trustees sent to the county commissioners. And Mr. Evans, I know, go ahead.
Just one other thing I'd just like to request, we have the procedure now with the prosecutor for the board president to approve any others that are seeking legal opinions. I just had the 3 here, just one on the various records requests that I've received, the Wind Waste contract extension, and any questions on the HSA HRA changes in my discussion with Mr. Savage. Again, you cannot increase or decrease compensation to an elected official, and there is a question as if we switch from and split HSA to an /HRA to just a straight HRA, is that considered an adjustment in compensation? So I just needed that I just asked for your approval on those, and I can submit them.
Great. And the only other thing I have, Mr. Evans, we've talked about this for quite some time, so I'm going to request that you you've raised the issue, and I think it's a good one. Could you do some research and get us some quotes on some new chairs?
Okay. I know our assistant zoning inspector just mentioned his was broken, so I'll include his and deal with these.
And include anything that the office staff needs, as well as the conference room and also the chairs here at the dais.
Conference. Yeah.
Anything else to bring before the board? Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Ms. McKee, is there a second?
I'll second.
By Mr. Evans. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
we stand adjourned, and thank you for coming.